Thank you, Ron. Now at this hour, we want to talk about a story that a lot of people have been talking about over the last 24 hours.
Yeah, our coverage continues of the shooting that happened on the I-10 yesterday morning. Lots of talk surrounding the Good Samaritan who helped out the trooper and shot and killed the suspect.
So this got us asking some questions. When exactly is it legal for a third person to get involved in something like this? And did what that man did yesterday, as far as we know the facts, do everything legally?
Yeah,
right?
Joining us this morning is David Laird with C2 Tactical. Good morning to you and welcome back. We've had you on
Thanks for being here,
in
David.
other instances. And yeah, this really did get us thinking because there's so many different components that can go into your thinking if you are put into this situation, like this person was yesterday.
And keeping your emotions in check so that you can evaluate and understand everything that's going on, because it's so fluid and so dynamic. Once use of force has been used, you have to know when to stop, when you're going too far.
Okay, so let's tell everybody what happened and catch everybody up. So this suspect had shot the DPS officer, and then apparently there was a fight after that shooting to where the DPS officer was down, the suspect was on top and kind of beating his head into the ground. This passerby pulls a gun, from what we understand, out of his own car and walks over and does what, as far as you know?
So he did a number of things correctly. Number one, he saw that there was an officer who's in trouble, and he stopped, and he went to the officer first and asked him, do you need assistance? Now, an officer may tell you no because he understands more about what's going on in this situation than you do. There could be other assailants still waiting out there that you're not aware of, so there could be other possible dangers or threats. It could be that he's in fear for your life or your safety, so he may tell you no. The officer responded and said yes, so the clear intentions are there that he now knows this officer's in trouble and he wants his assistance. Because we also don't want to confuse the officer, just run up and start tackling the subject, because now the officer doesn't know if you're there to help or if you're there to hurt him. So once he has that line of communication, then yes, he went to his vehicle, got his firearm, came back, he warned the subject and told him, hey, stop what you're doing or I'll shoot, and then he shot the suspect. So where the officer's laying on the ground, his life's in jeopardy because his head's being beaten against the pavement, he's already injured, can't use one of his arms. I feel like everything we have heard so far says that this guy did everything he's supposed to do in that order. But there's lots of other things you have to look at because it's 4 o'clock in the morning, it's dark. Did this guy have a flashlight? Was he able to look for other possible threats? If he's using a flashlight, does that mean now that he has only one hand on the firearm? So is he controlling it properly? I mean, everything they did went perfectly flawless, but firearms instructors nationwide are going to review all the information and the facts of the case, and we're all going to try and figure out, well, what things can we learn from this to help our students be better prepared if they ever face that same encounter, that same situation.
Well, and that's the thing with situations like this or other instances, is they all are so different.
Correct.
And you know, especially in a situation like this, it seemed, I mean, they were in a very remote area of the I-10, especially at that time of the morning. Not a lot of traffic, not a lot of people passing by. Like you said, it was dark and things like that. But the situation can be so different depending on...
Right, every fight is very fluid, very dynamic. Things are happening in split seconds, and you have very limited time to assess what's going on and when appropriate force is necessary and when we have to dial it down, dial it back, and stop our actions because it may cause more harm or put ourselves into some sort of legal, conundrum.
So many people applauding what this man did and calling him a hero.
Absolutely.
For helping out this DPS.
And Officer Anderson, I mean, this guy, he drew the short straw. He got a 27-year veteran of law enforcement. So we have a motto in our industry that says, beware of old men in dangerous businesses. So I mean, he's injured, right? He's only got one arm and he's fighting from the ground. He's in a position where, most of us would say, man, I don't know if I could do that. So for this citizen to step in there, we're all anxious to find out what his background and his training is and whether or not whether any of that influenced his decision-making process in getting involved, because I really feel like he did everything right by getting the officer's attention, making his intentions clear to the suspect before he got involved. Because when he refused to comply, that's when he took action.
David Laird, C2 Tactical down there in Tempe. You give gun classes and things down there as well. So
absolutely. Everybody really needs to learn, read, and understand the Arizona Revised Statutes, especially Chapter 4 that deals with justification, so they better understand this situation, how fluid, how dynamic it is. And then actually take training that puts you in these situations, because you never know what you're going to do until you actually do it. So we're able to kind of simulate that a little bit and get you as close as possible without the real thing and no real harm involved.
Okay.
Good.
David,
thank you, sir. Thanks for coming down this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yes. And sir, if you're out there, I'd love to meet you. The shooter in this case, the Good Samaritan who came in there. So you're always welcome on AZAM.
You got